I don't know. I wouldn't have thought it was very likely, but I don't want to prejudge the outcome of the Chilcot inquiry. Let's wait and see what we are told. I hope that this inquiry will uncover the truth of everything that happened surrounding the war in Iraq.
And you hope the same?
Of course I hope the same, and I think it's right that there be the inquiry and that all those documents have been made available to the inquiry, because there needs to be some definitive view about what happened.
Lord Faulkner, Michael Howard, thank you both very much.
It is 23 minutes past 8. There is a new comedy drama series on television tonight, and it promises to be much talked about. Channel 4 has commissioned disabled actors to take part in Cast-Offs, the kind of mock documentary about a group of disabled people marooned on a remote island for a reality TV show. In true reality show fashion, those taking part are given a list of instructions and rules.
Dear Cast-Offs, welcome to your island.
Cast-Offs, is that what they're calling us?
I like it. It sounds sexy.
Your task here is simple. You have 90 days to prove that differently abled people can achieve...
Differently abled? Not so sexy.
Sorry, Carrie. Can I read that when you finished with it? It's just your mouth too small to lip read from.
That differently abled people can achieve self-sufficiency. You will have none of the comforts of home. For some, this will be more difficult than others.
Well, Asha Talla produced The Office, and the IT Crowd is also a wheelchair user. And Victoria Wright plays one of those characters in the programme. She has cherubism. They're both here in the studio. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Asha Talla, what do you think of it?
Well, there are two ways to judge a show like this. You can judge a show like this on the basis of any other drama, and the good news is it's rather good. It's compelling. Making drama is difficult, and this show is successful in parts and has other parts that are not so strong.
And it's funny, isn't it?
And it is funny. And then the other way to look at a show is, like this particularly, is in a political terms, you know, is it made to push forward a particular agenda, and judging it on that form as well. I also think it's successful. I do think it's going to push the debate around this area forwards.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's a comedy with disabled actors, but in a sense it's also a comedy about being disabled, isn't it? Which is dangerous ground.
It is dangerous ground, but there's nothing particularly sensationalist in this show. I thought it was actually rather sensitively done. I think what is surprising is that people will find it shocking in places, and that in itself is a surprise, isn't it? There's nothing particularly wild in the programme. It's disabled people acting as you might expect normal 20 to 30 somethings to act. But I think if there is any public uproar, that in itself says something.
Victoria Wright, tell me about your character.
Well, I play April, who's a research scientist who has cherubism, like I do. There's no getting away from the fact that any character I play is going to have cherubism. And she's very kind, gentle, quiet, reserved, not like me at all. She's a very kind of quiet person. And she was great to play, bit of a challenge. And it was my first acting experience as well. And
when you played her, were you... and sometimes things that happen to her are funny, and sometimes they're tragic, and because you get one series, one programme in the series develops each character, doesn't it?
That's right. All of the characters are in all of the episodes, but each episode, a bit like The Street, the BBC's The Street, you know, each episode focuses on one individual character. So episode 5 kind of focuses on April.
But I mean, to put it really ploddingly, what was the point then that was being made in the episode that focuses on your character?
I think that with her, they wanted to... I think that they always wanted to have a character that had a facial disfigurement. They didn't know whether it would be a man or a woman, but they knew, you know, in terms of disabilities, that it'd be great to find somebody with a facial disfigurement, and luckily they found me. And so I think the script took a lot of development. You know, the final script was very, very different to the original one. And I think they did want to have a story that was quite poignant. Some of the other episodes are very kind of comedic, and there's a lot more humour in them than there is in mine. Mine is, I guess they wanted a character who looked extraordinary and was very quiet, but who in her kind of personal life was a little bit more mysterious. So she's got a more mysterious private life than you think she does.
It's a range, isn't it? Because there are comedic things that happen. Some of them are about disability and people's reaction to it, etc., but some of them aren't. They're completely separate
that's
from
what's
being
so
disabled.
refreshing about the series.
And that's new.
It's
It's that mix of things together.
Yeah, I mean, normally with disability on television, it's either about a non-disabled character's relationship with a disabled person and their kind of viewpoint about disability, or the disability's been brought in because, you know, the producer's gone, we don't have disability in this storyline this week, somebody get me a death, actress with no arms. Whereas in this series, with these characters are very three-dimensional, they're all quirky, sexual, loving, funny, bossy, gossipy, bitchy, all the things that every other person is.
I should tell her, one of the characters in character at one stage says, "Spacking up is the blacking up of the 21st century." And is that, I mean, is that really the point of the whole thing?
Well, I personally don't favour that kind of... they were the bits of the show that I liked the least when the show felt like it was deliberately trying to provoke. I think it is interesting that up until 5 years ago, I would say that it was perfectly normal for television to cast non-disabled actors in acting roles. We had a character in a wheelchair in The Office, and I've just made a new comedy that has a disabled character in it anymore. And forget the fact that I'm in a wheelchair, just let's think of this in a hard-headed television producer way. I think anyone who puts anything into the public arena has to be able to defend it. And the thought of me sitting here opposite you or in the future and you asking me, why did you cast a non-disabled actor in a disabled role, I would find impossible to defend. And therefore I think we've reached a tipping point probably where it is no longer acceptable. You wouldn't ask a white actor to black up, and I kind of think, although the terminology is a little provocative, I don't think you can do it anymore with disability.
Asha Talla and Victoria Wright, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
8:30 now. Gary, sport?